Hey freaks! Today on NES Tips we're covering the first Power Blade game. This is kind of an underrated classic and needs to be played more often than it gets. Let's throw on our explorer goggles and hit it. Mankind needs rescuing. It's possible to level select in between each stage, but I've always found it best to go in order. Since it's possible to power up your weapon from how you initially start the game, it's easier to gain these items on easier earlier levels. On the topic of powering up, the enemies in this game respawn constantly. What does this mean for us? Well, that's simple. Walking back and forth in a particular area to gain items. This isn't unlike the trick in Castlevania 2 to keep collecting hearts and level up. It's pretty much elementary old school gaming. In each sector, you will have to locate your contact to obtain an ID card. These unlock the doors to the boss. Without them, you can't proceed further past the current board. Any shortcuts you find are definitely a plus. You have plenty of time to deal with, but the less encounters you make with enemies, the better. Watch for the Power Blade suits. You'll gain extra expendable energy when you get them, plus access to a more powerful weapon. Try and hold on to the suit as long as possible. The first boss will jump, and walking under him will allow you to dodge his shot and him at the same time. He'll put up a shield to guard sometimes, which fully protects him. Try and dodge his straight shots and you should be fine. Level 2 presents these giant faces that shoot at you endlessly. Walk up on them and blast them in that huge face to worry not about their attacks. Falling platforms grace this place as well. They drop very quickly too, so make haste. Go easy at the smashing obstacles. You'll find that while they're moving upwards, the top of your head can actually pass through them. The second boss is a robotic dragon that will turn into a ball and hop or roll at you. Either way, it's easier to dodge his shots and him the further you are from him. This gives added possibility of one boomerang hitting him more than once. Don't let his speed overwhelm you. If enemies appear in a circle around you, stand still and disperse them from the center, jumping the lower threats. The toughest enemies on this level are the gorillas. If you're fully powered, they aren't really that tough, thankfully. When you see one come on the screen, let loose on them. The beehive boss is really easy. Each one of the closed pods needs to be destroyed. They can only be hurt while they're open and releasing bees. Shoot at each one over and over, destroying the bees as they come out. The fourth sector is exploration heavy. There are quite a few ladders to check, which could lead you astray. One especially important note: when you reach the area with platforms moving up and down, you should have the ID card at that point. If not, you might get a tad disheartened to find out you can't get in the boss door on the other side. Going all the way back is a real pain. Make sure you explore the freezer before all of that. When you enter the boss room, you have another easy fight on your hand. Head far right and shoot upwards at the boss. Only jump when he is far left and shoots at you. When you run into giant missile launchers, you should jump immediately. Said missiles will miss you 9 times out of 10. There's a decent shortcut that will help you avoid a few baddies, but unfortunately, you're gonna have to be teased by the boss door to get the ID card, then go a roundabout way to get back. And remember, if you die, you're gonna want to get powered back up. Of course, there are many spots to do this, but there's a really good spot right before the boss. Speaking of which, you can stand just to the side of his bullets when he's firing from above you. He disappears and reappears, making it tough to judge where he'll be. Start moving when you see him flash, and you shouldn't have too many problems. Going into the sewers immediately in Section 6 is a good strategy. There are few enemies on the top portion of the sewers, plus you need the ID card anyway. When the blocks start pulling a Mega Man on you, move as quickly as you can. The blocks on the games with the blue bomber have a pattern, whereas these are pretty sporadic. The reason to move quickly? Usually the blocks are perfectly synced for you when they're first on screen. In case you don't know already, grab the ration looking items whenever you see them in the game. These will refill your energy to max when used. During this stage, if you have the option to take the high or the low road, opt for the high road. Less enemies, plus it's usually the best path to advance. giant Frankenstein robot is best fought with using little defense. Jump and fire at an angle at his face to get an easy win. After all of these trials, you finally unlock the middle, 7th sector. One really nice thing about this area is that you don't have to worry about finding an ID card. It's a pretty straightforward level too. If you want to explore a little, you can find a couple of nice items on the right side of the stage. If you'd rather just go and whoop the bejesus out of the boss, it's relatively straight up to the top. When you arrive at him, stand still and fire upwards. If you time it just right with his rhythm, you can get a hit off, then move to the side, causing his shot to entirely miss you. What does any good boss have? More than one form. Your best strategy against this machine is to stay just underneath it. You can fire upwards and walk along with it to avoid its thrusters. This isn't to say that you shouldn't move out from underneath it though, as it may be necessary. Just be careful near the sides of the screen so its thrusters don't get you. Refill your energy when needed and witness the end of the game. That's a wrap for this NES Tips. One final note. There are grenades you can use in this game to destroy all the enemies on the screen. Use them for those sticky situations. Take it easy, freaks.